The Fort Wayne Comet story isn't just about a litany of scores and statistics. It's more. The rivalries, the rallying cries, the fights, the road trips, the victories and the losses. And no one can relive these memories better than the players who created them. The International Hockey League was started in 1945 with just 4 teams. Its purpose, to give young hockey players the opportunity to develop and hone their skills so they could hopefully move on to one of the 6 National Hockey League teams. By the early 1950s, the IHL was considering expansion, and 3 area businessmen approached them about starting a hockey team in Fort Wayne.
Ramon Perry, Harold Van Orman, and Ernie Berg thought that hockey would go, and Berg and Van Orman went to the IHL meetings and they tried to talk the IHL into giving them an expansion franchise. And the IHL was interested. They were always looking for teams. And they said, that's great, we'll talk to you about it. And one of the IHL owners goes, well, what's their money situation? And Van Orman pulls out his wallet and slaps it down on the table. He says, you want to see our money now? There was only $11 in the wallet, and he later said that if they had actually wanted to see the money, they were dead.
These new team owners, aware of the risk, somehow knew that Fort Wayne would support a new hockey team. To start, they came up with the idea of a free clinic and an open house to introduce the team and the sport to the city.
They had a request for 14,000 tickets. The Coliseum Hall was 8,100. Fred Huber came down and gave the clinic on tripping, on ice sticking and holding and cross-checking. Then we had in their squad game.
Well, actually, the Comet name came from Ernie Berg. He wanted a name that suggested speed, excitement, and flash, and he wanted to go with Comets for that. But he also added a twist because his wife's name was Catherine and she went by K, that he added the K to the name instead of the C, and that's how that came about.
There was no logo, no name on the back, just a number on the front. And the second year, I believe, we had brand new sweaters with the logo, and boy, we thought we were great. But no, that's all we had. Now, the other teams had all logos and everything, but we're just starting up. We just had all this old equipment that they, well, actually, Chatham disbanded, I think that year, and or they bought their old equipment is what it was, and that's what we were using the first year here. So the second year we got all brand new stockings and new pants and sweaters, and boy, we were the king of the hill then.
The self-appointed King of the Hill Comets made their mark with solid play and fierce competition, of course, sparking a rivalry or two.
I think Indy, because it was very competitive. They hated us down there, and I mean, hated us. And when they came here, they were hated. And we had some pretty tough games against those guys.
I'd have to say our rivals were Dayton and Toledo at that time. When I first broke in, Toledo was notorious for having a real thuggery of a hockey team. They had one line called Murderer's Row, 3 guys that as soon as the puck was dropped, the gloves were off.
Back then, the first thing you did was the 2 guys that are fighting, you let them go ahead and fight, or if it was uneven, you jumped in and took care of it, but everybody had to pair off and get somebody so they didn't interfere.
When I got pushed, and I fought back, but the worst thing is I always end up fighting big guys, like John Bailey and guys a couple of big guys from Toledo. And I did fight Jack Turner from Columbus Owls. He was about 6'3", he was a big guy. And and I thank him for it too. He, instead of fighting me, he grabbed me and picked me up. So I did that. I was happy, man. He just picked me up and set me down, and so I knew that I was better off just getting to the penalty box.
We were in Muskegon one night, and the play was behind the net, behind me, and I was on like the left side of the goalpost. And Lionel and this player from Muskegon, Wayne Freitag, were both trying to get the puck. And I don't know what Wayne Freitag did to Lionel, but Lionel got real angry and dropped the gloves and just proceeded to, throw a few punches, and naturally he won the fight. So after the fight was over, Lionel skated over to me and I said, Lionel, what did you hit that guy for? Why did you hit him so hard? And he said, Jerry, I just didn't like that guy. I just didn't like his looks.
But in Fort Wayne, we had a few great ones. Obviously, Indy was, just because of the proximity. Like I said, my first year, we probably had 5 bench clearing brawls with them, and we had one on Christmas night. They used to make us play on Christmas night. And that might have been why we brawled. I don't know, but it went on for about 20 minutes, and there was at one time about 7 fights going on, and it was wicked.
We were playing here in the Coliseum, and I think it was Fletcher hit a guy, and he hit the guy so hard he basically knocked him out on his feet. The guy's helmet came off, and he grabbed it. He put his helmet back on, but it was on backwards, and he just kind of stood there. And finally, somebody helped him to his bench.
There wasn't too many guys that picked on me because I was probably one of the bigger guys in the league at the time. Now they're all my size or bigger, but in those days there was probably, I'd say there was probably 4 or 5 guys as big as I was in the league. And, you know, all the bigger guys used to fight with the bigger guys. It's not that we used to go and pick on the smaller guys, but, you know, each guy had a guy on the team. We had 2, 3 guys on Fort Wayne that could fight.
I never got into a lot of fights myself. You could probably count them all on one hand because I wasn't one of the bigger guys or one of the tougher guys. I was a goal scorer, but we had guys like Dale Baldwin and Steve Salvucci and John Hillworth and guys like that really did a lot of the fighting for us. Steve Fletcher. And each team had those guys, you know, and it was up to them to make sure that other guys weren't taking advantage of little guys like me.
The only time I ever got into skirmishes was if a fight broke out and the benches cleared and they got into a bit of a brawl, the goalies would match up and everything like that. And most goalies, when it happened, would stand there and we'd talk, you know, about, gee, this is sort of stupid, isn't it? And on the other hand, some goalies get a little upset, and because I was a little smaller than a lot of them, they tried to drag me around the ice or pull me around, and sometimes I didn't like that, so that would get a bit of a shove and a push, and a couple altercations started that way, but it was just a matter of, fortunately, nobody got hurt.
You know, I'm so calm and mellow nowadays that I can't really even think what would set me off in the old days. But you know, if it might have not have even been something that happened that game. It might have been something that happened a month before. You know, if a guy cross-checked you or hit you with a stick or hit you dirty, you never forget. It took me 9 years to get one guy, but I got him after 9 years.
With fighting comes injury, a small price to pay for victory. Checking, hooking, slashing, fighting, the game must go on.
I got hit in the eye, right above the eye, and had a black eye. You know, the next day, and we got to play again, and I was closed shut. But they said, well, maybe you can play with one eye. I remember Art Stone was coaching. He said, oh, you know, look, try it out. And I wasn't even thinking about playing. But he said, try it out and warm up and see how you feel with not. And every game's a big game, you know, that type of thing. So I went and I warmed up, and I said, oh, I'll try it. So I'm playing, and I'll be done within 3 minutes, I think. I forget now. But I got a goal. I scored right away.
We never wore helmets. The only time I think if somebody got injured in their head, and you know, or something, and they would put a helmet on. But it's something we grew up with and didn't really never think anything about, you know, wearing a helmet. But I can remember one day in practice, Eddie slapped the puck and I had my stick way out and boom, it hit me right in the eye. And I got 35 stitches in my eye. The next day we're heading out to Des Moines. And Ken says, well, do you want to play? I said, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to try and play because I could hardly see out of my eye. So the trainer decided, well, he'd take a football helmet. So I wore a football helmet and golly, we played Des Moines and we got beat 3-2 and I scored 2 goals. So, you know, it's just amazing sometimes how things happen.
Back then, you only had 13 players on a hockey club compared to what they have today. I don't know what the Comets today carry. I'd say probably 22, 23 players. We didn't have a spare goaltender. The trainer was if the goaltender got hurt, we had to wait 10 or 15 minutes till the trainer got dressed with the pads and yeah, that's the way it was in those days.
I remember the game that I got hit hard by Merv Dubchak, he played here eventually, but he was with Minneapolis, and we both turned. I turned to go into the bench, and he turned to head over to his bench, and we collided, and he wasn't watching, and I wasn't watching. Man, I hit the ice, and I actually crawled off the ice.
Near the end of the first period, I went up to the blue line. It was on the right-hand side. I put my stick out, and the guy shot the puck, and I knew when it hit me, I wasn't cut. I knew I was ripped open.
I have all my teeth. People ask me about my teeth. I have all my teeth. I've been lucky in that respect. Stitches underneath the eyes and the chin from pucks, fights, sticks. I mean, you name it. I had, speaking of guys who took stitches, Kevin Kaminski was a guy that I seen take more stitches than anybody I've ever played with.
Are these tales of unimaginable pain the driving force behind the spirit of a Comet player? When losing seems inevitable, what keeps them skating? The focus has always been to play the best you can, injuries or not. This is the Comet culture.